All right, I do believe we might be live. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another Sunday morning live stream. First thing I'm going to do today is just try to find the stream on my channel so that I can chat if anyone tunes into the stream. If you're catching this on the replay, thanks for joining me. Okay, we're going to be making some music today with the Roland MC707. And let me see if I can just find this stream on my channel. Hey, fantastic. All right. If you guys can just let me know if you can hear my voice okay. We don't have any audio levels to check in the system yet because I have a completely blank session in the MC707 today. I'd also like to start off today by saying I'm not a super deep expert on using the MC707, and this is not going to be like a master class level experiment today or anything like that. We're just going to be having some fun and casually writing some music in the MC707. I'm also hoping this to be an interactive session where I get a lot of the ideas in what we create today from you guys in the stream. So please, get your participation caps on. And maybe the first thing we could do is you guys can maybe let me know, provided you can hear me okay. Those of you in the chat can maybe let me know if you might be interested in creating something up tempo today or something down tempo today. That might be a great way to start us off creating something today. Hey, what's happening, Andy? What's happening, Lo? What's happening, Michael? What's happening, Flip Mode? What's happening, Wall? Hey, I really appreciate you guys tuning in today. All right. Let's see what we've got today. So I've got the Roland MC7 out, and I've also got the Eventide Black Hole Reverb pedal in case we want to send some of the sounds that we're using today through an extra deep reverb. I've also got the Access Virus Darkstar out today in case we want to sample some sounds into the drum pads on the MC707 because that's another really awesome feature in this box as well. We got two for up. All right, let's do some up today. Let me go ahead and switch over to the camera here on the MC707. And if we go into, let's see here, shift and tempo, right? Okay, fantastic. I can get us into a screen where we can set our tempo. And let's go ahead and hold, maybe I need to hold shift no, it's not really seeming to do what I want there. Well, let's just roll this. Do I need to press down? I don't know why it's moving in these tiny little increments all of a sudden. It didn't do that previously. But rather than sweat it, I'm just going to sit here and thumb it up quite a bit. And maybe we'll start at like 135 beats per minute today. Okay, cool. Yeah, let's see here. Let me get out of this mode here and go into note mode. Cool. I think what we'll do first is maybe try to create some sort of a drum pattern so we can get some levels that I can actually, get the volume on the stream sounding okay. Because I'm not really sure where we're at now. Hopefully that's not too loud or too quiet coming through. Maybe what we can do to get us started with, hey Greg, what's happening? Maybe what we could do to get us started today would be to scroll through some of their drum kits and see if anything sounds like something inspiring that we might want to work with today. So let's see here. If I go up to their presets and click enter, we can go ahead and just start scrolling through some of these kits here. It's like a nice trap kit they've got. Again, it's probably pretty loud there at home. I hope that's not too loud. Please let me know during the stream if I need to adjust the overall level up or down at all, like if it's distorting your speakers or anything like that. Let's check out some of these other kits. We've got like the CR78 kit, like classic kits in here. Like some 606 stuff. Cool stuff there. 80 stuff, plenty of EDM kits and stuff. Level's okay so far. Thanks, Wall. I appreciate that. Like a trance kit. Drum and bass stuff here. Hip hop. Trying to decide whether I want to go with a 4 on the floor beat today, or whether we go with like a broken beat. So as I'm scrolling through these drum kits, I'm kind of thinking in my mind, you know, do I like this kick enough that I want it to be a 4 on the floor pattern, or maybe do we want to create something broken beat? I'm kind of just seeing if the kits, the sounds rather, in the kits can maybe inspire me to take, to start, you know, one direction or another per se. That's some pretty sick 808 stuff right there. I kind of like that, actually. Hey, what's happening, Sean? Thanks for tuning in. You got to vote for Broken. Cool, Wall. Do you guys like this kit? I don't know if that's sounding okay on your phones or whatnot, because that kick is pretty burly. Let me know. I think that kit's kind of neat. Maybe we could create some sort of a beat with this kit here, and then if we're still kind of not liking the vibe, maybe we could scroll through some other drum kits. Let's see here. What let's do is start off by creating a clip for these drums. And let's see here. For those of you who aren't super familiar, or maybe not familiar at all with the MC707, what this box is it's an 8-track drum machine. It's an 8-track, you know, 8 different, it can be, sorry, each track rather, it's got 8 tracks, and each track could either be a drum machine or it could be an internal synthesizer, and we can all also sample into these drum pads as well. So if we're using a drum bank, we can sample and record our own sounds into there. We're not going to get super deep with sound design today. We're just going to see what we can get created here. So I think we're going to go ahead and start by creating a clip here, and then we can just maybe put some, I don't know, we're going to do broken beat, so maybe we could just start with a really basic pattern, put the snare on the 5 and the 13. Maybe what we can do would be to bring the velocity up on these snares, because I like my snares to be really loud. And so let's bring the velocity up on that second snare as well. Let's go ahead and just bang in those hi-hats real quick. I'm just going to hit record mode here. Cool. Checking out if we can maybe get one of these open hats in. Maybe not leave it open so long, and put a closed hat after it. Alright, let me see about this level here. Trying to... How are we doing there? Is that too loud when my voice is over the top of that, or can you guys hear that okay? I'm sort of trying to look at my mixer here and sort of just trying to set the levels, you know, where I normally have them, kind of on a, you know, average position. Just let me know, you know, during the stream if we get too loud, or if, you know, when my voice is over the music, if we start distorting or anything like that. Alright, let's see here. What let's do is bring the volume down on this clap sound, because I really like it, but I think it's way too loud for this kit. Cool, and what let's do maybe is make this pattern a little bit longer so that we can bring the clap in, but we don't necessarily want to bring it in, you know, every single measure. How we can do that, let's see here. If I hold function and hit the measure button, we can duplicate this out a couple times and then make this into a 4-bar loop. Yeah, cool. And the MC707, it's probably going to be a little difficult for you guys to see at home, but the MC707 lets me know how long the clip is here in the little visualizer window. It's going to restart now. 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, and let's see if that works. 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, and 4, 2. Yeah, I didn't get that on the right beat. That's okay. Let's fix that, shall we? There we go. And I'm going to make the velocity on that one nice and loud as well. So I'm basically just getting this clap in at the turnaround of every fourth bar. Yeah, cool. It's still way too loud in the mix though. So we're going to just bring it down in volume a little bit and kind of tuck it in the background. Hey, thanks very much, Toballusion. Hey, thanks, Andy. I appreciate you guys tuning in. What I'm going to do, I think, is maybe just flesh out this drum beat a tiny little bit more. Cool, it's like a nice little shaker in this kit we can use. Maybe we'll bring the volume on that shaker down. Just kind of put an open sort of a shaker here. Cool. I'm going to just hit record, and I'm going to hit start, and then just let the pattern play once. And then I'm just going to tap in a little shaker part here. 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2. Let's do that shaker. Alright, let's see how that came through. Cool, I think we're going to bring the volume on that shaker back in the mix just a tiny little bit there. Alright. And also maybe the volume on this hi-hat down just a little bit as well. Starting to do just a little bit of the mixing stuff here while we're getting started. Alright. Oh, Toballusion, I am jealous of that Golden Master module. That looks really fantastic. Anything with a limiter on it is like right up my alley. Okay, now that we've got ourselves a little bit of something created, let's go ahead and save this project so that we can save along the way. I'm a chronic oversaver, and I encourage all of you to be chronic oversavers as well. One of the things about the MC707 is that it does not have an undo function. So if you get yourself into a mess and you'd like to go back a few steps, you're not really able to do that with this box for some reason. So I think it's a really good habit to get into, to be a chronic oversaver with this box as well. We're just going to hit shift and right here to get us into the right screen, and let's see, we can probably just I'm just going to call this like, okay, cool. So here we go. We'll call this whoops, bear with me as we start labeling stuff. Things seem to, always take a little bit longer when we first start with them. I'm not able to, where's my letters here, for Pete's sake? Okay, here we go. Oh, I see, I'm going the wrong direction. Sorry about the pause here, guys. We're just going to call this Y. Whoops. Now I'm really confused. But we're not going to worry about that. We're just going to call this like something random then, so that, Zoo Urge. Cool, right on. I don't want to waste too much time in the live stream. Right project, are you sure? Yes, I am sure. Okay, no worries. Now we've got ourselves a file saved. Still can't find the Pittsburgh modular black box. Oh no. Shortage maybe. Yeah, things with the virus have got a lot of the chip manufacturers got a lot of things on back order. I've seen a lot of modules just kind of waiting on new shipments these days. Yeah, I think that might be an issue. Some of the chip manufacturers. I also heard actually that there was let's see if I can change the cameras here, that there was a large fire in one of the major chip manufacturers in Japan, I think, in their warehouse. Which was kind of like, oh, that's going to definitely impact a lot of people who are waiting for those chips. And that, in conjunction with what's going on with the slowdown because of the virus this past year, yeah, that's definitely got a lot of things on just kind of like wait mode. Yeah, for sure. Okay. So we've got ourselves a little bit of a beat here. Hey, what's happening, Russ? Thanks for tuning in. I think maybe what we'll do is take the opportunity before we get started to maybe just, no, we'll just keep this drum kit. I'll just move forward then. I'm going to maybe scroll through some kits, but I think this kit is working just fine for all practical purposes today. Just waiting for the menu to catch up to my false move here. I also think we're going to slow the tempo down just a tiny little bit here. I've got us all the way up to 150 here. Let's go down to maybe a little bit lower so that we can get a little bit of the groove in this beat still. Not really sure why the tempo's rolling strangely. It wasn't doing this for me previously. but it's giving me all those tiny little increments here to pick from. Let's go with like 140 BPM for now. All right. Let's go ahead and maybe see if we can't switch over to the next track. Rather, we'll leave that one, I think, open for more drums if we want, and go to the third track. Go ahead and bring that down for now, I think, and bring the volume up on this one that we're working with. And what let's do is go ahead and choose to make this a tone track so that I can scroll through their synthesizer sounds, and maybe we can create some sort of like a bass tone or something here. The first thing that we're going to do, maybe bring the volume down just a little bit for scrolling purposes. And we're just going to go into the preset menu here, and let's go to Synth Bass, and maybe bring this down an octave. All right. All right. In fact, let me take a little peek here at my computer screen. Bear with me, everyone. All right, looks like we're in the key of G. Bring this down even further. All right, and what I want to do then is maybe set the scale of the unit to a G minor scale. Let's go ahead and do that at this time. If we hold, let's see here, shift and note, cool. We can get into our transpose here, and if we're holding, let's see, by default the box is kind of tuned to like a C sort of, and I want 1, 2, 3, maybe go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, down 5, put it in a G minor scale, minor pentatonic. Let's see if we can get that going. So if I get this into a G minor pentatonic scale, cool. All right, and let's see if we go back into the sound menu and go to presets so that we can scroll through these bass presets. Maybe go back up another octave. All right. Certainly not going to go for that kind of bass today, but that is a pretty cool sound. So now that we're in the key with the box, now that we're in the key of G minor pentatonic, all of the notes that I play sort of just follow that scale. Bring this volume down a little bit some more and keep scrolling through more sounds. Or does that sound like an octave lower? Keep scrolling through some more of these presets. That's one of the things that I really like about the MC707 is the amount of presets that are included. Excuse me while I fumble around for the right camera that I want to speak to here. There we go. And that it comes with thousands and thousands and thousands of really high quality Roland synthesizer sound presets, and you can just get lost scrolling through these sounds. There's categories for so many sounds, from keys to pads to basses to acoustic sounds, and the amount of just built-in sounds that this box comes with is just amazing. So we're going to take our time today, and we're just going to scroll around through some more of these presets. All right. Some modulation basses here. Not really what I'm looking for. Here's a square and a ramp bass. More of these distorted 808 basses. I really like these basses. Not really appropriate for today, maybe. Kind of like that. Or those wobble basses here. Go down an octave on that bass. Just gonna keep scrolling here. I also want to show you guys just the variety, the huge variety of sounds that you get in this box, just right off the jump. Some electro sounding bass there. Little 303 action here. Maybe we can bring this up an octave. Let's see if we can write maybe an acid line over this groove here. What let's do is go ahead and just choose this sound, right? I don't know. Let's make a clip here, shall we? Create. All right, fantastic. And what we can do is, let's see, maybe just start putting in some notes, right? Maybe we'll put in a bunch of root notes here. We don't really get much access to the cutoff on this sound, so maybe we'll try to make an ARP with this sound, and then maybe we'll scroll for some other sounds. Alright, so what happens here if we go back to the sound menu, and then we go back into the presets here? Maybe actually, this might be better to look for, rather than a bass with this type of sound, maybe we want to look for like a sequence sound. Hey John, thanks for tuning in. Oh, I kind of like that one. That's kind of abstract. That's a X mod wave number 3. We might go back to that one. Ooh, but a big part of me loves that old school stuff too, like this here. Maybe we need to bring this velocity up on this note, yeah. What am I doing wrong here? There it is. Put a little bit of reverb on that. But what I want, I think, is I'd like to make the gate time on that sound a little bit less. So let's see if we can achieve that by going Shift and Edit to get into the Edit menu of this sound. And I believe if we go over to the amplitude, yeah, I can take the release and the sustain down on this arpeggio sound. Let's see if I can do that. Yeah, I don't feel like we're really affecting it here at all with these controls, which I'm not really vibing. Bear with me. I think what I want to do is maybe just try to find a more legitimate 303 sound that we can use here. Maybe we want to go to like the synth lead section and try to find a better 303 sound. I told you there was quite a few presets in here, and I don't really have a lot of experience scrolling through all of these. It's a little bit more than I'm looking for with the 303 there. Press enter on the filter. I don't really know what that means, John. Press enter on the filter? What I really want is just something that we can, you know, really affect with the cutoff here, if possible. I'm sure the perfect sound is in here if we're just patient for a moment. Use the yeah, I don't know how to do any of that kind of stuff in real time super fast, John. I've only got like about a week into this box using it with its internal sequencer. Before the track that I made this week with the MC707 guys, I've only been using this as like a sound bank and controlling it with external devices. I certainly haven't spent, you know, hours and hours and hours and hours digging into here. I don't know how to sound design in this box or get through like all of the menus and stuff. I just know how to do the really basic stuff at this time. So we're not going to be like sound designing or creating presets or like, you know what I mean, doing much other than just scrolling through sounds today and creating stuff with the sounds that are in the box. Maybe doing a little bit of sampling into it as I get something going, hopefully. A lot of these sounds are kind of neat and would get us somewhere, but just not quite what I'm looking for to get started with. Hey, thanks, Jared. Thanks for tuning in. See, I like this sound here, but I can't get the cutoff to kick it where I need it to go. So rather than, you know, try to sound design this where I want it to be, we're just going to keep scrolling, you know what I'm saying? Because I don't have the experience yet with this box to do that. And I also want to show you guys just the wide variety of sounds that are in this box as well. Because I think that the sounds that are in here are really high quality sounds, which is exactly why I chose to get this box, to be able to use it as an external, you know, sound source. Sequence with things like the Digitact or the Akai Force in my live jams and stuff. Okay, so this is an awesome sound as well, but I don't really have control over the cutoff. I can reverb send that, and that's cool. Get a little bit of, you know, warble on the system control. Knob assign. What I'd like to do, yeah, it's filter cutoff. I'm just not getting it where it needs to be, though. Bear with me, everyone. Looks like we're going to be doing a little bit of scrolling to get us started today. The sounds sound familiar. Yeah, they absolutely should, flip mode. These, the presets here that we're listening to, excuse me, I'll stop the beat so I don't have to yell over here, are, you know, made to sound like the presets in all of the previous Roland synths that we've used for like years and stuff. If you've had any experience with any previous Roland synthesizers, you're going to hear a lot of sounds coming out of the MC707 that are going to have that sort of familiar tone to them. Absolutely. What I really want is just a solid working 303, John. Yeah, if I was using my... See, Andy knows. If I was using my own sounds, I would have found what I was looking for. Absolutely. I'm just not as versed with this box yet as I would like to be. We'll get there. I just want a sound that I can really give hell with the cutoff, you know? Like a 303 lead, basically. You can see just how many, you know, leads there are. We're up to like 30, saw lead number 30 here. Tons and tons of presets. But that means, you know, a lot of scrolling if you don't know exactly what you're, you know, trying to find as well. Again, you know, a lot of these sounds I could do stuff with, but I really want to have more control. And they're just kind of not set up that way. Yeah, no control over the cutoff at all there. Starting to go a little bit faster now because it's taking forever to find what I want. Okay, we're gonna go with this one, I think, because I can do a lot of rolling on the cutoff, right? So here's the cutoff. You hear how we're really, you know, affecting that filter here? Kind of getting that old school electro sound. Yeah. Alright, that's cool. Let's go ahead and get this sound. Alright. Let's go ahead and bring the volume up on it as well. And, let's see here. I believe in this screen. Yeah. Cool. Yes, exactly. Sending a little bit less reverb to this sound here so we can kind of focus on the delay more on this sound. Yeah, here we can really affect that filter when I tweak the cutoff. That's kind of what I'm looking for in this type of arpeggio sound. Excellent. Okay. Sorry that took so long to get started there. Let's go ahead and see if we can maybe add a bass sound to this now by just selecting the next track, and we'll choose to make that a tone track. I'm going to turn the volume up on that one a bit, and we'll go ahead and just scroll for a sound here. Let's scroll through their presets, go to the bass section here, and just kind of start scrolling down a bit by default for fun. And let's see what we've got here. Now, because we've already set the scale inside of the box, each of these tracks is going to, by default, match up with what we've chosen, which was G minor. Okay, and the reason that I chose that is because that was the key that the drums that we started with were kind of putting out into my system over here. I have a sort of a plug-in from Mixed in Key that helps me find out what key things are in. All right. So all of the notes are in key now, and I literally can't hit a wrong note, so it doesn't matter if you're, you know, really familiar with music theory or not. If you're just using the pads here that are built into the machine, and you've set the scale mode, you can't hit a wrong note, which is really awesome. Maybe we could go for a real staccato bass because it might match that arpeggio a little bit. Kind of like an electro sound. I'm kind of liking that. Let's go ahead and make a clip here. And I think by default, I'll need to make this a length of 2 bars. So we'll go ahead and make this a 2-bar clip to start us off with. Sorry about yelling over the music there. And if I just hit record, actually let me just jam over it for a second first. Make it really simple, I think, so that the arpeggio can maybe have more focus than the bass sound, you know? 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 2, 3. Yeah. Oh, did you do the K? 1, 2, 3, 4. Bring this sound down in general. I think what we'll do maybe is whoops, I just need to bring this up a tiny bit. Is it? Where is that? There we go. Let's bring this down in the mix a little bit so that I can move the knob all the way to the top here, you know? Going to try to bring that lead out for a second so that I can kind of get a better idea of how the bass is sitting with just the drums here. Certainly don't want any reverb. Oh, whoops, I'm on the wrong. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. That's more what I want there. You kind of tame that bass with the filter cut off, excuse me, and kind of tuck it back into the mix here. Here we go. So now I'm just seating the bass with the drums, right? I think we can get the bass back in the mix, another 5, so that it's sitting just underneath the drums. I'm gonna go ahead and take a look at my mixer levels here. I think we can come up in volume just a little bit. Alright, let me know if that starts to get too loud at home there, anyone. Yeah, I don't know about that one, Jarek. I'm really a 4/4 kind of guy myself, so I'm not really sure about the non-4/4 mode, per se, in the MC707. I think by default, you know, it's really easy to get, you know, stuck into the 4 on the floor stuff here because it just, I mean, not necessarily 4 on the floor, but, you know, 4/4 time division, because everything just lines up that way. You know, we've got 16 notes per bar, all that kind of stuff. It's really just conducive to that sort of programming. So you might be able to do other time signatures in here. I'm just really not sure on that. Let's go ahead and save what we've done so far, though. If I hit Shift and right, we get back into that save menu with the weird name here, and we can just hit Enter, and we just have to wait a minute. Sometimes you think you didn't hit Enter because it takes a second to get there. Then we can go ahead and write what we've created so far. Okay, fantastic. So we've got sort of a bass now, and these drums kind of got a really old school Roland sound to it, really, so far. I'm going to tuck this bass. Yeah, we're going to go sound on that bass. Yeah, make sure my delay's down on that bass. Cool. Oh, I see. It's that funky little note, isn't it? It is. Yeah, it's this one. Maybe I can bring that. It's just a little bit weird. Okay, so it's the A. Oh, I see, I'm doing it on the wrong bar. Just trying to fill in a note that I missed on this bass line the first time through. Okay, there we go. That's what I wanted. Fantastic. Now that we've got the bass kind of and the drums sitting a little bit more where I'm happy with them, let's bring that arpeggio back in. Let me change camera so I can show you guys a little something here. Alright, let's see. Now, I've got a few things open on my computer over here, and one of them is some visualizer plugins. Excuse me. So for those of you who aren't real familiar with my channel, I've got this open up in the background here so that I can see what's happening with the audio. I can get a reference here from FabFilter Pro Q3, what our audio is looking like, and I can get a reference here on the Isotope Tonal Balance Control plugin so that I can get an idea of what our audio is looking like. And over here, if I look really close on the Isotope Tonal Balance plugin, I can see that we're pushing just a little bit too much high frequencies. So we're going to go ahead and see what we can do to make that a little bit tamed, per se. And what I'm going to do is I believe those high frequencies are coming from the drums. And I believe they're coming from these hi-hat sounds here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to... let's see. I'm going to switch cameras first of all, and then I'm going to see if we can't just adjust the high EQ settings on this sound individually here. If I go to Pad Edit and I switch the EQ setting on, each pad of each drum kit, you guys, has its individual EQ settings. So think of it this way, being as though there's 8 tracks here, and we can assign whatever we want to these 8 tracks. If we wanted, we could load up 8 drum machines, right? Each drum machine has 16 pads. You can sample whatever you want onto any of those pads and affect and EQ them individually. So if you think about it as a major sample box, you've got 8 tracks with 16 pads on each track that we can sample into those pads. You could sample quite a lot of your own sounds into here and use that sort of a workflow as well with this box. The individual EQ over each individual pad really makes this box very, very powerful. We're going to go ahead and on these hi-hats, we're going to bring the low gain down just a tiny bit, but that's not really what I'm after. What I'm after here is to be able to bring the high frequencies down. So I'm going to change the EQ setting here to maybe over 10K, maybe even higher, maybe like over 12K. Almost. There we go. So anything over 12K, and let's take the high gain down like 2.5 decibels for any of those frequencies on just this one hi-hat sound only. Okay. I need to change what I'm looking at over here on the computer. Thank you for your patience. I'm going to bring those down even more. Maybe -4. I can do the same thing with this open hi-hat over here. You can turn the EQ on. Can change the high frequency up to a much higher frequency so that it knows I'm only looking to affect the really high frequencies of this sound. Cool. And we can roll that high gain down just a couple decibels on that open hi-hat. Excellent. Yeah, I would love a master compressor to glue it all together. Right now, I'm not using the drum machines that have the compressors. I'm just using the really standard one only. So we've got, let's see here, we've got a basic drum beat, we've got a basic bass line, and we've got kind of an arpeggio that we can actually mess with in real time over that. Okay, so now I think over this, let's see here, let's add another track, shall we? Let's grab a tone track on track 5. Let's turn the volume up a little so we can hear this. Cool. And let's see, if I bring this up an octave, remember again how I said that since we've set it into its own scale mode, that it's not going to allow me to play any wrong notes now. See how all of those notes are sounding in key with the rest of our music? Let's go ahead and bring the volume up on our arpeggio just a little bit, I think. Yeah. Cool. Now if I go back over to our new track, we can go into the sound browser menu. We can hit enter, and I could maybe choose something like a synth pad this time, and we could try to start scrolling through some of these. It has one built in. Shift and multi get you to it. I don't see, oh, shift. Okay, hold the phone. Well, I'll get to that as soon as we find this pad sound. Shift and multi. We're going to check that out. Thanks, John. Maybe go up an octave here. All right. Start scrolling through some of these presets. And just like everything else, there's tons and tons of pad presets in here. So if you're not much of a sound designer, this is an awesome box for you. Because you don't need to be, is what I mean. There's just so many cool sounds built in. Go back up that octave then. Cool pumping sound right there. I like that one. Retro pad. Ooh, a nice big Roland JP string sound. That's a really classic pad. Maybe we go down an octave here. But the cutoff doesn't really do what I want. Let's keep scrolling. Nice Oberheim strings preset here. Oh, come on. That just blends too well. Let's grab that, shall we? It's an Oberheim strings preset. Let's go ahead and make a clip here. And let's tell this clip to be like 4 bars long, shall we? Alright, and let's see here. If we just exit out of here now and hit record and start the groove up again. 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, and... I'm not liking that. Let's see. What am I doing that I don't like? Let's go ahead and delete this, and yeah, and create a new one. And I think I might need to make that a 4-bar clip by default instead of a 2-bar clip by default. And let's just see what we got here again. Was it the higher octave than I wanted, maybe? Yeah, there we go. Just some really basic stab now here. Bring that volume way down so that I can, do what I need to do with the fader there. If we go to shift and sound, I can bring this level way down. that we can, I like to do that, by the way, you know, I like to have it so that I can move the faders all the way up and down. I don't want to have to kind of remember like where in the, you know, in the pull or draw of that fader my level was. So I like to adjust the gain behind the scenes so that I can pull and push the faders all the way up to the bottom and all the way down. I mean, all the way up to the top and all the way down to the bottom to bring those sounds in and out super easily. See what I mean? I just want to be able to grab them and push them all the way up, you know? In fact, this might be a fun time to see if we can't maybe take that new sound and send it out of the box and into this black hole reverb pedal that I've got sitting here. Let's see here. I've got the volume up down there. Let's see if I can remember how to do this in real time. I believe all we need to do is go to the select. Whoops, I did that wrong. Let's go to the select on this track. No. Let's see here. Shift and sound. Where's it? Shift and select. There's a lot. That's the thing. There's a lot of menus in this box. Is the thing. And it can be a little bit difficult to remember exactly where you want to get to, especially in real time, you know, when I'm kind of a little bit extra nervous from the live stream to begin with. But there's a way that we can route this, if I can just remember how we do that. Sound, no, so it's got to be in here. The matrix? No, I would think it would be in the mixing. I'm not going to spend too long if I can't remember how to do that. All of a sudden in real time now. I just did it on the track that I put out yesterday. I don't remember. Oh, for Pete's sake. Okay, so I guess we're going to not worry about sending it out of the shift and set and select. That's what I did. Shift and select. That was my sort of default. Oh, and then I need to back up that one. Hey, thanks, John. I really appreciate that. Cool, man. That's audio insert, and what I want is send source. No, where is it? It's output select. Dean. Okay, cool. So in this screen here is the output select screen. I got to it by hitting shift and select. And then I can take the output of this track to the assignable output so that the audio on this pad is no longer going through our main output, but it's actually routed through the assignable output, which is going into the input of this black hole reverb pedal here. And we're going to try to go ahead and see if we can't get that in the mix at this time. Only getting one channel, so I'm going to try to figure out why that is real quick. I probably have something clicked wrong on down here. Yeah, I sure do. Let's fix that. Hey. All right. Cool. There we go. So what we're doing now is we're using the black hole reverb pedal as an external reverb for this kind of chord stab to give it this huge amount of reverb wash that kind of gives it a separate and more unique acoustic space to exist in than if it was just coming out of the main outputs with the rest of the sounds. I think we're going to go with that. That's really nice. Thanks for your help, John. I really appreciate that. So here we go. Shift and select. We're going to go shift and multi now. See if we can get to the master compressor here. Oh boy, yeah. That is very nice. If I turn this on though, it's going to be like crazy town loud, right? let's turn the volume down. And now you can kind of hear, I guess, that that we're, let me turn this down over here, that we're got the reverb on its own send, because as I bring the volume down from the box here, the reverb on the pedal was still there. Turn this on here, and I'd like, yeah, maybe just a 1-to-1 for now, and we're gonna, oh, I see it's multi-band. Yeah, I think we're gonna pass on messing with this today, but I really appreciate you showing me how to get to this, John. That is awesome. Master compressor. I didn't even know that was in there, so I really appreciate that. That is awesome. I thought it was only something that we had individually on the drums. I didn't realize that there was a global one. I gotta really figure that out. That's awesome. Alright. Let's get back to doing some writing. Bring this pad down in the mix, I think, just a little bit, so I can do that manually here. Still want some more reverb on that. I'm just a level tweaker, sorry guys. Alright. What let's go ahead and do is go ahead and get that impact sound that I like to use all the time. Let's get that in the mix, shall we? If I just select this far to the right track here, we can use this to load some effect sounds too. So if I just grab a drum machine and hit enter, now we've got like a, the default 909 here. But what we can do is load whatever samples that we would like to load here. Hey Joshua, thanks for tuning in. Yeah, the black hole pedal is absolutely dreamy, Wall. Okay, let's see if I can remember how to do this. Thanks for your patience, everyone. I'm not super versed with this box, as you can see, but just enough to get going with it so far. So we've got the, if I hold shift and tap the pad that I want to affect, we can affect the individual pads here. If I click sound and then scroll down to wave file and hit enter, we can go into the memory card here where all of my samples are stored. It takes kind of a while to think about it and get into that card, which is a little bit frustrating sometimes, but no big deal. And we're just going to go into a folder here called Dean's Go-To Effects. And down at the bottom, we have that sample that I love to use for that impact sound all the time. Yeah, some of you might recognize that. We're going to go ahead and hit the import command at this time, bring it onto this pad here. Fantastic. We can go ahead and let's see, I need to bring the volume down on that, maybe just a tiny little bit, and let's exit out of here, create a clip to put this sound on, and go into the settings of this clip. We're going to try to make this like an 8-bar clip, so that every 8 bars we can get like a downbeat. If that's too much, then we'll make it double, so that it's every 16 bars. But we'll start off with every 8 bars, and we'll make the steps of this pattern 128 steps. There's 16 steps to a measure, so 8 measures is 128 steps. We can exit out there. And let's see, if I just hit, if I just put this on step 1, we can get the sound we want. And now, on every 8 bars, we're gonna get that impact sound. Might be too often. We'll see if we want to maybe make it 16 bars instead. I think we're okay. Yeah, cool. Just want to maybe make it a little bit lower in the mix. I'll bring the level down on it. And this is one of the things that I was showing you earlier that I think is really awesome about the box, is that each pad has its own individual EQ. So I can have the pad I want to affect selected, I can hit the enter button and go to pad edit, and then I can turn on the individual EQ for that pad only, so it won't be affecting any of the other pads, but just that pad. And I can bring the lows down on this new impact sound, so that we're only getting kind of those really high, sparkly frequencies. All right, fantastic. Let's go ahead and save. We've done quite a bit of stuff since I've saved last, so we'll go shift and we'll go right. We'll go enter and we'll say yes. file exists already. Override it. Cool. Check in with the chat. Hey, thanks very much, Jarek. I appreciate that. I'm just trying to basically, show a lot of the different gear that I've got in here. I don't use it all in the same way. As a sound designer, sometimes I might use the gear just to create new sounds or hook things up together on certain days and, be running things through different things or whatever it is that I need to, do on that particular day. But these live streams, I definitely, have been having a lot of fun just using different gear and kind of showing, you guys some of the different ways that we can use the gear. I really appreciate everyone tuning in for these streams. Okay, so we've got ourselves saved here. We've still got 3 tracks in the mix that are unused. Let's see our groove here. Yeah, it is way deep. See, Mike's got it exactly. It's way deep for this screen being so small. If they could have somehow made this, because there's really, I can't stress enough, you guys, just how deep you can get into these. You can really create your own sounds from the ground up, like you would program in any type of synthesizer, but it's all through this little tiny menu here, so it's like a little tedious at some points. That's one of the reasons why I'm so happy that there's so many sounds included, just thousands and thousands of sounds included. I got this basically so that it would be a preset machine for my workflow, for writing grooves and just having a good time. You can also connect it to your computer and use sounds that they've got in the Roland Cloud if you're participating in that program, and load more sounds into it, more presets, more drum banks now, even more drum kits. So yeah, if you're not big on sound design at all and you don't want to really mess with that, you just want to get in, put something in a key where you can't hit wrong notes, and then just find cool sounds and put them together, the MC707 really can't be beat for that kind of a workflow. It goes deep, but you don't have to get that deep with it. You can literally just kind of use it on the top level with the included sounds and get a lot of fun stuff. Yeah, that would be cool, Russ. That would be cool. We do have, this assignable output, though. So rather than routing this to the black hole reverb, we could have basically tried to set that up as some sort of like a monitor send if we, if we needed to have a separate. But I guess it's still only one or the other. So, yeah, maybe not so much, though. Maybe not so much, though. Just putting a little bit more reverb on that pad still. I think we could maybe, What do you guys think? Should we look, whoops, I'm gonna get my headphones stuck here. Should we look for another sound to add to this using the sounds of the MC707 by adding another track here and scrolling through more presets? Or should we load maybe like a drum track and try to sample some little bits and elements into that using the Virus Darkstar? What do you think, guys? Let's see here. Putting in another little bit of a drum element there for us. Something fun in the background. Yeah, I haven't used that yet either, Mike. The random patch generator. Is that awesome? Does it generate results that sound fun and are cool to use? I need to get into that as well. Don't stack too many sounds. Yeah, see, Flip Mode knows what time it is. Okay, this is what we're going to do, guys. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and copy this whole row of patterns. This is basically, like if you're familiar with the workflow in Ableton, in the scenes view, this is kind of how we're working working with this box right now, in that this top row of clips here, I can copy this whole row of clips and I can paste it to the next row beneath it. Then we can make some changes and whatnot, and then we can kind of go back and forth between these two sections, and we can create more sections even. Let's see how we'll do that here. If I highlight this whole row and click copy, then I can go down to the next row and I can just paste all of these clips in. All right, what we can do here is maybe first, right off the jump, we can maybe go into the drum pattern on the first pattern here, and maybe we can take off the kick drums for this first part, so we've got more of like an intro part here, and then we'll go into the second scene kind of a deal. Also, maybe we can take the arpeggio off of the very first scene and just kind of have some drums and bass kind of starting us off with. So I can highlight the clip for the arpeggio, I can delete that clip, and now let's see here. Go ahead and take off the pads on this first one as well. Delete that pad setting. Yeah, so it's kind of just the top line of the drums and the bass line here. And what let's do also, I think, is let's go ahead and take this second row where all of the sounds were coming in. Let's go ahead and copy that row and paste it down to the third row so that we can do a little bit more progressing into this. Let's go ahead and on the second scene here, let's go ahead and delete the pads from starting so that the pads don't start until the third scene. Let's go ahead and, oops, what did I do there? I need an undo button is what I did because I messed that up somehow, but we'll fix it. We're going to go copy, and I'm going to put that into the second line again and paste those all in. Cool deal. And basically all I want is just the, I need to be not highlighted on everything. There we go. And I just want to delete this one clip here, which is the pads. All right, fantastic. So here we've got three sort of scenes now. And if I play the first one, it's just the bass and the top line of those drums, right? In 1, 2, in 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we sort of bring in the kick drum, we sort of bring in the arpeggio, right? We kind of introduce the listener to what we're kind of about here, right? 1, 2, and then go to the third clip. I think my timing was off there, but you get what I'm after. So now we've kind of taken a moment to sort of progress into the groove here. And I think what we'll do is go ahead and, now that we sort of have, you know, the meat and potatoes started of a track here, we'll go ahead and hit shift and copy this whole this whole row again, copy and paste into line 4. So on this scene we could add yet another new sound, and it's not going to be quite as jarring for the listener per se because we've sort of, you know, eased them into it a bit. Let's go ahead and just use the built-in sounds, I think, in the MC707 again for this one here. We're just going to grab a tone track, and if I hit sound, we can go to preset and just start kind of maybe scrolling around, maybe through some, oh, I don't know, whatever they consider these to be. Go back into note mode. Yeah, cool. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. Let's just play the groove and just kind of scroll through some sounds and see if anything sort of jumps out at us and kind of sticks with what we're creating here. Remember, we can't really hit a wrong note or play out of key per se because we set the box and the box knows that we're writing in the key of G minor. So every track that I bring in by default is going to adhere to that same scale. Here I just kind of can't hit a wrong note. Everything kind of sounds okay. And then it just becomes about, you know, choosing the sounds that you like or sounds that complement the other sounds you've got going. octave on that. That's alright, but not quite what I want. That's cool. Let's grab that. Try to get us a little bit more volume on this new sound here. I believe we can do that here if we just, yeah, turn the EQ on and then bring our gain up on this track. Yeah, cool. All right. Let's put this little arpeggio in, shall we? All right. If I make, we'll need to make a clip to, you know, hold the MIDI information. And I think we just basically want to, you know, hold this down for like a bar and just have that repeat. So let's just do that. Cool, and this one has a nice, you know, filter built into the sound, so we can kind of do some tweaking in real time. Maybe put a little more reverb on this sound. Send it to the delay a little bit. Didn't hit the downbeat very well, but what we've got here, what I wanted to show you there, was that we've got this awesome filter on the master here. So at any time, I can roll that up, you know, kind of do a little bit of a turnaround using that master filter. It's basically just taking the low frequencies off of everything, right? 1, 2, and 1, 2. Roll the back down. Kind of a neat little feature to have here. Okay, cool. So what let's do is let's see if I hold this button over here that says clip. Basically, it, you know, it knows that I've got 4 different rows of clips here, and if I select one of these buttons on the downbeat of the very next measure, it will start playing that entire row of clips. So if I hold the clip button down and press the 1 button and press play, it's going to start us off with that intro clip, and I'm going to play through these 4 different clips again so that you can see how we're kind of using the arrangement to progress into this track. We're sort of just counting in 8s, you know, in 1, and 2, and go to the next clip. In 1, whoops, I did that wrong. So that's something you have to definitely keep in mind. You know, you need to be counting, and you need to make sure that you're not going to hit it a little bit early, because then it's going to change a bar early. What we can do, I believe, to, let's see, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm just going to leave that then, and we'll just make sure that we're counting. Let me try that again. Okay, so starting from the beginning, hitting clip and 1 so that it knows that we're starting at the very first row of clips. 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4. So I'm kind of always doing that in my head, right? 2, 3, and 2, 3, and now we bring in the pad, right? I think actually at this scene here, at scene 3, that we could probably have the drums start to do a little bit something different, or, you know, more, because we're bringing in that pad, kind of starting to bring up the momentum of the track. Maybe we'd like to add like a a ride cymbal sort of here, and maybe I'll just load one of mine onto this pad here. So let's see, if we just hit shift and touch the pad we want to affect, we can affect the individual pad, and I can just load like a wave file onto that pad from the memory card inside of the unit. It takes a little bit to get to the memory card. I think this waiting for to load the card is a little bit tedious, but I mean, what are you going to do, right? This is my go-to effects folder. I'm going to back out of that. We're going to go into the Electronisounds folder. I hope I have a ride cymbal in here somewhere. Let's go into my Velvet Carpet and Techno sounds. There's got to be a ride in here somewhere. Enter, clap, closed hash, start kicks, more kicks, percussion, and some rides. Fantastic. I'm going to play the groove and see if any of these ride cymbals kind of gels with the groove we've got created here. It's not bad, actually. Not really what I was looking for, but that's a really wide one. I think we're just going to grab this one here, and I'll hit enter on that. Cool. Now we can adjust the volume of that sound a little bit here. Bring it way back in the mix. See about messing with the tuning. That's better. Cool. Let's bring that back in the mix, I think maybe even a little more. Hit record. And one of those is off. Let's find out which one. Looks like we missed the first one, maybe? No? There it is. Alright. Maybe tune it up just that little bit more, actually. Yeah. So now on the third clip, we have the pad come in, but also the drums start to get a little bit more interesting as well. And I find that as you're progressing through these scenes, you really are going to need to focus in on the drums as well as your other sounds. So that sometimes, you know, you're adding more drum sounds to build up the momentum, and sometimes you're taking things away to maybe give some other sounds in the mix a little bit more focus in the actual frequency spectrum. Let's go ahead and go back to the first clip again and start that process from the beginning so that we can hear that change on scene 3 when both the ride and the pad come in. One, two, three, and 1, 2, and 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we brought in the ride as well as that pad. That sounds pretty nice. And we're going to bring the volume down on this pad, on this ride still. Whoops. I mean, here we go. Yeah. Go to the next set of clips now in 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and there we brought in that arpeggio. We can mess around with the drums as well. That's why I like being able to pull the pads all the way down and push them all the way up so that I can do those real-time turnarounds in 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and now we're just kind of jamming by breaking the tracks in and out in real time. pad sound up in the mix a little bit. And we can, you know, use our scenes that we've already created to start jamming. We can have a break in 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and right. Tuck that bass back in. 1, 2, change that clip. Sounds like the chat is coming up with some pretty interesting iPad ideas. Go for it, guys. I love this. And 1, 2, change it up. One, two, and change it up. All right. Let's go ahead and take this groove a little bit further. We've created something that we can already start interacting with in real time and actually get a little bit of a jam going. Obviously, some of the levels aren't perfect, and if I was doing this by myself, I would spend a lot more time, you know, getting in and really fine-tuning some of these sounds, adjusting the reverb, maybe doing a little bit more EQ on the sounds individually. But for the live stream, that kind of stuff can get a little bit tedious sometimes. So what we're going to do, I think, is go ahead and just copy scene number 3. We're going to copy this and we're going to paste it down to scene number 5. Okay, and now I think this might be a good time to bring in a new sound. Let's see here. We've taken the arpeggio out, and so the scene in its entirety is like so. Yeah, but maybe this is a good time to bring the arpeggio out. Okay, so what we can do is we can say when we hit this scene, you know, don't play the arpeggio anymore. I can delete that. And that maybe frees up some, you know, of the listener's interest for us to add a new sound at this time. What we can do is we can use track 7 here, which is still an unused track. We can hit select, and we can bring up a drum track here, so that we can start sampling onto some of these drum pads, maybe from like a sound in the Virus Darkstar or something, just for fun. Because I really think that that feature, being able to sample your other gear right onto these pads, is super awesome and super handy. So let's get into that, shall we? Let's go ahead and say we want to sample something onto this pad here. And if I just hit sound and we go to record and enter, boom, we get into the record mode. And so let me switch to this camera, I believe, and then anything I play over here on this side is now routed in to the MC707's external input here, and I can just sort of play the groove, and we can maybe just randomly scroll through some presets on the Virus here, and if anything, you know, floats our boat, we can maybe sample that in and use that in the groove that we're creating. Hope the levels are still okay at home. I almost kind of just like this preset here. Do you guys like that? I know I'm really, you know, typical to just kind of throw some dubby chords on stuff, but that's sort of my bag, you know, when I'm just casually writing. What do you think? That sounds pretty cool. Should we put that in? We've got a yes. Okay, fantastic. Thank you. what let's do is let's see if we can make that happen. So if I change cameras over here, we can see that there's a little tape recorder icon here, and that when I'm pressing, when I'm playing external stuff, we can see the level that I'm sending in here. I think we're going to go with this level here. And there's a few different ways that we can do the sampling. We can hit the enter button to start the sampling, or we can do a threshold-based sample, which is I can, set a level here, and its default is negative 24 dB. So whenever the level goes above that, it will start recording. And I think we're going to use that trigger method to actually record 2 different chord stabs to put in here. So if I hit enter, now we're in the waiting mode. I can't think of the word I'm thinking of all of a sudden. Gonna let that play all the way out. Okay, really careful to let that go back to absolute silence before I stop the recording. That sounds fantastic. So let's go ahead and, enter to load? Yeah, we're just going to hit enter, and we're going to load that right onto the pad. Yeah, writing, cool deal. Now we've got that. It's just that simple to sample like a stab or something in from an external device. We're going to go ahead and do that with this pad here as well. We're going to get the second chord here. So if I go into the record menu again, okay, fantastic. It's still set up with the threshold-based recording at negative 24 decibels. So as soon as the level goes above that, it will start recording once I get us into, waiting mode. I'm going to let that play all the way out. Cool, and we'll stop that recording. Now I'm just going to go ahead and load that one, enter, onto the pad that we sampled it on. We could do some editing here if we needed to, but we don't. Everything's fine. And just like that, we've now got pads, we've got our own sounds, rather, on these drum pads that we sampled in from something else. Okay, let's go ahead and save at this time. We're going to go ahead and go to Shift and Right. We're going to hit Enter. Let's see here. It always takes us a little bit longer than it should to get to this next screen. Sometimes you think, did I actually hit enter? I don't know why it, waits, but it does. Okay, so here we've got it saved now. And in this new scene, we can go ahead and we've already got an 8-bar clip set up in the new scene because this is the same bank that's housing our impact sound. So we're already set up to an 8-bar loop here. So if I just, let's see here, if I just make sure we're on the right clip and I play our clip. 4, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, hold on. Let me get my count right. 1. I'm gonna hit record here. Oh, I see. We're not on the right clip that I want to be on. I want to be down here. Yeah, there we go. That'll help. Sometimes you need to kind of get a little bit, it's difficult sometimes to see exactly where you're at because the screen is so small. 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4. Let's hit record. 6, 2, 3, 4, 7, 2, 3, and 8, 2. Here we go. That's cool, yeah. I am an absolute sucker for these dub chords. We got that one a little bit off the beat there. Let's fix that. That's coming in 1 too early, it looks like. I think that maybe is what we want. So let's count that. 1, 2, 3, Yeah, that sounds awesome. Now remember what I was talking about before about how every single pad has its own EQ? This is one of the things that I really, really love about the Akai Forces workflow as well. So those new sounds that we just sampled, we can go into those samples and we can affect them individually. I can go to the top here and switch on their EQ, and I can just bring the low frequency content down on these sounds by maybe like 4 decibels on each. Turn the EQ on there and bring this down here. And this is just going to give a tiny little bit more room in the frequency spectrum for our kick drum and our bass drum to exist without having to fight the frequencies that exist in those new chords we just sampled. Let's go ahead and see about maybe sampling another sound out of the Dark Star. Because that first one was really easy, right? We didn't have to do any scrolling or not much of a challenge, right? Let's see what we can do. Maybe create a challenge for ourselves when there isn't one by default. All right. Let's start by scrolling through some of these presets. G minor is not necessarily my preferred key to write in. I definitely am not afraid to admit that I don't have as much music theory knowledge as I would really like to have. I'm really only proficient in playing in the key of F minor, where I can just kind of blindly just go because I don't have to think about it. Any other key, I have to really think about like what keys are in that key, what notes are in that scale per se. Scrolling, I guess. Wait a minute. Hold the phone, hold the phone, hold the phone. Yeah, see? That's really chilled and really, really mellow. Not really putting out a lot of low frequencies, not really putting out a lot of high frequencies, but just a really nice, tame sound. I think we're going to try to sample that in, actually, but what we're going to need to do is I just want to make sure that I'm at 140 beats per minute here. Okay, 140, go back into sampling onto this pad here and hit record. Cool deal. Now I just need to make sure that we're at 140 beats per minute here. Whoops. Okay, just need to find the right page where I can adjust the arpeggios beats per minute here. And we're at 140 beats per minute here as well. That's awesome. I think this octave here. Whoops. So trying to figure out whether I want this one or the higher octave. Now I'm deciding whether I want to use like more melodic content or just the note. Let's see. Obviously we're not 100% synced, but when I sample it, it will be. Hold on a minute here. If I can get dun 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 dun. That would be a great sample. Let's see if we can get just that. Dun 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 dun. Okay, so I'm going to hit enter to get us into waiting mode. And boom, we got it. Lucky on the first one. I'm going to hit enter there. No, somehow I didn't do it right. So we're going to exit out. Sample will be lost. Yeah, I didn't do it right, so we'll figure out what I did wrong there. We're going to go into enter, okay, and record. Okay, make sure we get that here. Enter to stand by. Try it again. Nope, didn't get it. And I want to exit and delete that. Yep. Try again. It's probably an easier way than having to back out, but I don't know what it would be yet. All right, let's try that one more time. Awesome, we got it. Except it's not, oh, because I'm not loading it yet. I'm doing this all silly. Again, there's tiny little things, you know, where I have to spend a little bit more time with the box to develop that fine-tuned workflow. I was kind of expecting the sound to already be on the pad. It's not. You have to hit function until you actually commit that sound to the pad. No worries. We'll commit that sound to the pad at this time. And switch the camera back over here. Fantastic. Awesome. Okay. We're going to go ahead and I think put that in on a couple of the downbeats here. Yeah. 2, 3, and 2, 3, 4. What? No. Let's just put that in manually. I don't want to have to fight it being strange. Cool. Get off of there, you. Okay, cool. We're going to put that on the main downbeat here, and we're going to make sure that that's full 127, 2, 3, 4, and then so measure 5. We're going to put that on the downbeat and measure 5. Whoops. Right. Yeah, and make that full velocity. That ought to do it. Going to have to make that sound, I think, a little bit louder in the mix overall, so we can hear it a little better. Yeah. So let's do that. Where is that? I wanna, maybe what I want actually. Maybe what I want. Sometimes these menus get a little bit confusing. Maybe I just want to go back to the sample edit and let's see here on the, is it here? Where is this mode I'm looking for? Somewhere around here is a gain. There it is. I just want to bring this volume up, I think, by a little bit. Yeah, awesome. Let's go ahead and exit out of there. Yeah, let's go ahead and start EQing this as well. We'll pull some of these lows out of this sound, shall we? Let's go over here to the pad edit and switch that EQ on. Yeah, fantastic. Pull some of these low sounds out. And I think I want to boost the highs on this as well. So we're going to shift these highs up to a more higher frequency. More higher. We're going to shift these up to a higher frequency here. Maybe like 10K. And almost there. Cool. And then high gain. Maybe bring that up just a little bit as well. A couple decibels there. Yeah, just to help that sound cut through the mix a little better. Hey, thanks for tuning in. All right. Hey, Mike. Hey, we got Rob in the chat. Sorry, I've been ignoring the chat a little bit, guys. Just had to focus to get us going on these samples here. This is sounding okay, I think. Maybe want to bring a little bit more of the low frequencies off of this new sound. Yeah, all right. Okay, let's go ahead and go back to the very first clip and start our progression from the beginning and kind of see how we're doing here. We've got 7 out of 8 tracks filled up with sounds. And 1, 2, change that clip. And 1, 2, 1, 2, change that clip. Bring in that pad. And 1, 2, 1, 2, change the clip. change that clip again. If we could do a variation of the arpeggio in this section here. Ooh, that's hot. Let's do that. Let's go, make sure I'm selected where I want to be and go create a clip. Let's make the setting on this clip a 4-bar clip, right? Start over. 3, 2, 3, and hit the record button, man. Again, remember how I said that we can't really hit a wrong note? So I can sort of just hit record and play the fool like that, and just slap some keys. Hope it comes out okay. I think that's usable. Let's change it up and go back to the beginning. 1, 2, here we go. So we've been streaming for just under 2 hours. It's been a little awkward for me because, you know, things get a little bit intense in the real time. But we've been able to create a groove in just this little bit amount of time, even with me talking the whole time. And now we're able to start jamming that out a little bit. We can sort of hold on each scene as long as we want, right? To build or take away whatever momentum we want to. Right? In 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. We can just start going back and forth between the scenes. I like to pull the drums out, you know, just for like a minute, not a minute, but just for like a millisecond or two, you know, in those drops. In 1, 2. Push them back in, right? Again, that's why I like to have all of the knobs set to where I can pull them all the way down. 1, 2, and change the clip. And then just slam it all the way back up to the top. Hey, thanks, John. I appreciate that. One of the things that I find is also cool when you're doing these jams is a lot of times that when you think the listener is waiting for that big change, but instead of giving it to them, you take things away. Like here, I pulled the drums out and just kind of ride this section here. Still counting. In 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. I would have needed to push the drums back up there for more effect, but you can also use, you know, these mistakes as more ways to build that tension, right? Now you've got the cutoff on the bass up and the cutoff on the arpeggio up, so we can start rolling those back down. Sort of get the arp to a place where it sounds good, and now tuck that bass back, right? If you're on your phone speaker, you're probably not going to hear this super great. Change the clip. I really find that being able to use the cutoff on a sound to sculpt the frequencies in real time is where you want to be. Thanks, Nils. All right, thank you. 3, 4. So, I don't know if you noticed that as well, but I often like to just pull those drums out and wait until it would be a natural time to switch the scene, and then use that moment to pull the drums back in. Because you're bringing the drums in at the same time that some of the sounds are changing. It really helps those, you know, transitions. I also spoke earlier for a moment about the master filter that we have built in here, so you can roll this up at any time. Start getting rid of those lows. And 1, 2, 3, slam it down. I can't really slam it down is the thing. I have to get it sort of right back to its, you know, middle position. And there's not an indent for like a default. So you can, you know, low pass as well. You can hear how if I do that, if I low pass the mix, we're still hearing that, you know, pad sound, because the pad sound is coming out of the external output and not the main output. So it's unaffected by this master filter. Stuff like that and your routing configuration here can have a really big effect on, you know, your entire mix. Here we're literally kind of filtering everything else back in except for that pad, which isn't moving from the filter, you know. And 1, 2, change the clip. Try to hit that filter back to its default position on the downbeat there. Thanks, John. I appreciate that. One, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so what happened to those pads that we sampled in? It seems like those pads we sampled in have disappeared or something. Am I missing something? I'm not really sure what's happening there. No, everything's here. Yeah, we're getting the pads and everything still. Yeah, cool, awesome. This is a really fun one today, and one of the neat things that I really want to get across as well is that when you're not using any loops in your track, you can absolutely, you know, once you've built a groove, you can maybe start playing with the tempo up or down and see if maybe like it seats in a more groovy way at maybe a lower tempo or maybe even a higher tempo. Let's take this groove here and roll that tempo down and see what happens. Not really sure why the tempo knob's being difficult for me today, but it's rolling in all of the little increments is the thing. So here's that same groove now, but at a much, you know, slower vibe, but everything just kind of gels still. Oh, I guess it doesn't, does it? Because the one thing that we did sample that has a tempo built into it was this sample here. So even if I slow the tempo down, that sample there is still playing at 140 beats per minute. It does have a tempo baked into it. So let's go back to 140. If you don't have any samples like that arpeggio clip chop though, you can see how we can start playing with the tempo, and maybe once you've got something written a little bit, scrolling that tempo might help you find like the perfect you know, home for your tempo. Yeah, but we're sticking to 140 it looks like. So what we could do at this point would be maybe we could grab, you know, the first scene again, which is just a little minimal scene here. We could copy that scene and go to the next empty scene beneath what we've got here. And we could paste that in again, right? So when we've got 6 scenes now, and if I play that, it's just our beginning scene, right? But maybe, let's see here. Let's get this. Maybe this is the time to put in a bassline variation. So maybe what we need to do here would be to like delete our clip for the bassline. Cool, we've got some kind of a drums happening here to give us a little bit of a metronome almost. Okay, and remember, I can't hit a wrong note. You know, we can play lousy melodies or we can play lousy rhythms, but we can't hit a wrong note once we set the scale mode. Let's go ahead and make a bassline variation here by going to create a new clip. and change the setting of this clip to be 4 bars long. Okay. Now if I just hit start and record, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, maybe I'll get lucky now. Cool, little bass line variation for us here. Let's scroll back over to these drums. And hit record. Sort of a variation on the drums here as well. Let's put that in. Let's put our ride in here too, yeah. So now we've got quite a more robust drum groove happening and a new bass line. So it might be interesting. What could we do here? Let's see. We've got this cool arpeggio on this track. And if we go up an octave. Let's go up another octave on this here. Cool, let's go ahead and put in a clip on this here. And we'll just leave it a 1-bar clip, I think, and hit record. So there we've got yet another little bit of difference here on this scene. This is a empty... What? Are we not using this yet? Okay, well, that's fine. I thought we were, but I guess we put them on 8. Maybe a cool variation on this ARP here too. Thanks for tuning in, Mike. Appreciate it. Or maybe what we want to do is go down an octave. Yeah. So now we've got a little bit of variation on the arpeggio part happening here as well. Let's go a couple of scenes before this and sort of play it and see how it feels when we go into that new scene. 1, 2, 3, 4, and go to the next scene now. Let's play this scene again. Working with that arpeggio a little bit. Cool. Maybe not the most efficient transition here, but you guys get the idea, I think. In 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. And we can just play with the parts and mess with these clips. Here we go. You can always play sounds live in real time as well. That's interesting, I didn't know that, but if you hold clip and you press select, it seems to mute and unmute the track, so that's kind of a nice bonus as well. Anyway, I just wanted to show you guys some of the fun that I've been having with the MC707, now that I've been learning how to use its internal sequencing and not just using it as like an 8-track sound bank. Because that is definitely, you know, why I purchased this unit in the beginning. I have a lot of sequencers already in here, like the Digitact and the Akai Force and things like that. And I was thinking, you know, just to have 8 additional drum machines or 8 additional synthesizers or even 8 additional samplers, you know, to add to my jams and my productions and whatnot in one box would be really amazing to have. And it has been so far. And I really like the quality of the sounds that are in this box and just how deep we can actually go, you know, with sound design and all that kind of stuff if you really want to. The only box that I'm aware of that is as powerful as this box is the Akai Force. There are some, you know, definite differences between these two boxes, but I don't know of other machines that are this powerful, that will let you literally just start sampling into them on tons and tons of different pads and being able to EQ and process and affect all of those different sounds completely individually of each other. These are really strong boxes where you can produce, you know, complete tracks without using a computer in any way at all. If I had to choose one of the two only between the MC707 and the Akai Force, I'm not really sure that I could do it, and that's why I have both of them. I think that the biggest advantage to the MC707 is this is literally like 8 sequencers, 8 synthesizers or 8 drum machines. This is a pretty small box. It's not, you know, really comparable to how much studio space you're going to need to bring, you know, 8 new synthesizers or drum machines into your studio. So, you know, at first I was like, I'm not even going to need to worry about the sequencer. I just want to have access to those synthesizers, you know. But being able to get in here and learn more, I've got a lot of gear in here. There's a lot of learning time than just sitting down and studying that it takes to get, you know, to grips with all of these different pieces. But I'm really happy that I pushed a little bit further forward with the MC707, because aside from the Akai Force, you guys, this box is really the most powerful standalone box that I'm aware of. I think that the biggest benefit to this box here is just the quality of the sounds. Somebody mentioned earlier in the chat, these sounds are sort of familiar, and yes, they absolutely are. If you've had any pieces of Roland gear in your history, in your musical journey, you're going to find sounds in this box that remind you of those. These are really high quality and usable sounds. And there's just tons and tons and tons of them in here. And we can continue to expand these sounds as well without having to do any sound designing of our own by connecting this up with their Roland Cloud and using those as well. Now, when we're talking about the built-in synthesizers that are in the Akai Force, I just don't think that they can really compare to the sound quality of these synthesizers and these sounds here. I think that, when we're talking about from a sampling point of view only, the Akai Force maybe has a leg up. But when we're talking about the internal synthesis and the internal synthesizers and the sound quality of those, I really think that the MC707 comes out on top here. And because we can now sample our own sounds into it super easily to any of these pads, I'll usually just, pick one bank in like a session that I'm working on to bring my own sounds in on. And you still got, 7 of their drum machines. You could have 4 drum machines and 4 synthesizers, for example. Any combination of these tracks. You can even have a looper track to where you've got the audio input being fed in from whatever, and you can record into that in real time. I think that gets a little bit limited in the amount of sampling time you can record in, but you can do some live looping with it as well. I think this box is really, really robust and really, really awesome sounding. At the end of the day, it's all about the sound quality to me at this point, because I have quite a bit of gear in here. I'm not lacking for sounds, so the gear that I use, I really want it to sound awesome. We've been streaming for just about 2 hours. We're going to call it, I think, pretty quick here. But I want to check in with the chat and give you guys a chance to ask any questions, whether they be about the MC707 or, iPad production or just music production in general. I definitely want to be available for just, fun hangout and question and answer sessions for these live streams as well. So if there's any questions you have, or if I missed a question from earlier, please feel free to ask that now, and I'll do my best to answer as we're wrapping up. We got a question here from Lo saying, is there a standalone Groovebox that acts as a capable iOS controller? The thing is that I really think, like, my favorite iOS controller is probably the Novation SL-MK3, because it has its own sequencer built into it. So you could say, plug that in and route it to an app like OM, for instance, and those tracks in OM could be maybe a drum machine and 7 synthesizers, for example, and you can sequence and arrange and play all of those from the keyboard of the Novation SL-MK3. I really like that as a controller, but unfortunately it's not a standalone box. It doesn't really do anything on its own. There's some rumors that Akai was thinking about. I've seen some photos of like design sketches. So, it was in the works at some point, making a keyboard version of the Akai Force. That could be a really neat workstation to have, because, having built-in keys is a lot different when you're maybe used to playing with the keys and not just only having those pads. But as far as like a full-on standalone, I don't really have like this one is the one per se. I just like the controllers that I'm able to use. Basically the Novation SL-MK3, and also for like knobs and sliders and buttons, I really like the Novation Launch Control XL MIDI controller to have assignable faders and stuff like that. Hey, thanks, Les. I appreciate that. Thanks, John. Thanks, Russ. Thanks, Jarek. Does the MC say, Alex, hey, thanks for tuning in, man. I love your stuff. Hey, everyone in the chat, if you like the techno and you'd like to see people throw it down live and hard and awesome, go follow this cat, Alex Fain. He's in the chat right now. He does live jams that are just like magical. He just goes and goes and goes for like an hour, and it's like killer. Good job. Seriously, Alex, does the MC707 have time stretching? Because I wasn't aware that it it does. And if it does, then that's something I really need to look into. I know that the time stretching on the Force is pretty lousy, and a lot of people, are used to that awesome time stretching in Ableton, and then kind of go, yay, let's get out of Ableton and work in a standalone box. All right, spend all this money, and then try to, stretch or warp a sample in the Force and go, oh my God, this sounds terrible. And it does, yeah. The warp algorithm on the Akai Force is just terrible. I personally don't use samples that are from different tempos. I don't use the time stretching at all, and I didn't know there was one in the MC707. So if there is and it's good, I'm definitely gonna have to check that out. Absolutely, it does in tone tracks. Well, I'm gonna definitely. Oh wait, yeah, the looper thing said something about you could change the pitch, so that's got to be time stretching right there on the looper tracks too. Anyhow, so that's an added bonus to this machine that I wasn't really aware of, that apparently we can do some time stretching as well. Yeah, I mean, price-wise, this is pretty comparable with the Force as well. You've got a lot. I mean, it's hard to compare these because with the, you've got those built-in synths in the Force, and you can multi-sample out, like from your synthesizers, to where you can kind of get playable versions of your synthesizers in the Force. This doesn't have that. There's always that give and take, but I don't know, if I had to pick one over the other for just ease of use and just kind of setting the keys and just loading sounds and just making music, the MC707 is really absolutely fantastic for that. And the sound quality that we get, I can't stress this enough, 100% gold Roland quality synthesizer sounds in this box. Just tons and tons of presets of those to scroll through. Absolutely. All right, you guys. Well, until next week, I think we're going to go ahead and call it. I'm not sure exactly what we'll be doing next week. This week, I'm working really hard on a techno patch in the Eurorack, but that's not going to be a live stream. That's for something else. So I don't know. We might be back to Beatmaker 3 next week. I'm not really sure. I just want to do these live streams for some kind of content every Sunday at 10 a.m. And I really appreciate all of you tuning in and hanging out with me on these Sunday morning live streams. Okay, let's just check out what we've created one more time, and then we'll call the stream today. I really appreciate everyone tuning in. Bit too much verb on some of these drums here. Thanks, Michael. Thanks, Jarrett. Hey, thanks, John. Woohoo! One, two, three, four. Cool. Thanks, Jebbo. Thanks, Andy. All right, cool deal. Just going to check one last time, make sure that I'm not missing any last questions or anything like that. Really appreciate you all tuning in for these live streams. We're just having a lot of fun and just creating stuff. And I just want to encourage you guys to explore your gear and just, create with it. One of the ways that I was able to really learn this week and get involved, really in deep with how to actually use the internal sequencer of the MC707 is that Roland has been kind enough to put out 3 really long and detailed videos on this machine. And I watched all of those like a couple of times. You know what I'm saying? To really just get into those and just get into the workflow and learn a couple of the features that like I wasn't aware of that even, the machine could do. Plus they've made, a few updates on it since I've really gotten into the internal engine. Again, I was basically just using this to sequence from other devices so far, like the Digitact or the Akai Force. But now learning how to use the internal sequencer has really, brought that up another level. Awesome. What do I wish the MC707? That's a great question, Jarek. What I would say is that the sampling time on this, the recording time, is a little bit limited. For instance, I believe when you're using their looper tracks to where you're recording audio into the machine, I believe you're limited to like 60 seconds of audio. Now, if you've got, say, 16 different scenes set up, and maybe you want to go through now and record a loop into each of those 16 scenes, those are going to have to be pretty short loops, if you get my drift, because 60 seconds goes really fast. So if I could, I'm not really a live looper kind of guy, but I could see that being a lot more useful to me personally if we had either, endless sampling time or at least, more than 60 seconds. 60 seconds can go really, really fast if you're recording loops into the box. Other than that, there wasn't really any. No, I was going to say probability, but we do have that. We do have the ability to get in and like tell like a one particular step, like you should only trigger 50% of the time, for instance. So yeah, we do have probability. We didn't get into that today, but that is in the box. So, more sampling time. I can't really request more inputs or outputs because not only do we have an assignable pair of outputs that we're using today to route one of these sounds into an external guitar pedal, but it also has a built-in full-on 2/4-inch sends and full 2/4-inch returns. So not only can you utilize that assignable output, but you can also put a pedal into that send and return loop. It's really like awesome, frankly, for working with external pedals and and for the track that I made this week that I posted yesterday, I'm using 2 external pedals that are, routed through the machine here. One through the send and return and the other through the extra assignable output. I know that's not really something that it's missing, but rather something that I'm in love with about it. But that's just it. I really, when I'm working with it, I'm not really missing much of anything, really. I mean, it's all in there. Once I learned how to get to the EQ section for each individual drum pad, it's just pretty much on because you can, really get in there and produce and mix as deeply as you want to. Absolutely. Oh, well, yeah, I can't argue with that. Low nailed it. A bigger screen. That would be a really huge, awesome thing. Because, boy, it is pretty small when you consider all of the levels that they allow you to do. For instance, like the synthesizers in here have like 4 oscillators, and you can get in and, affect any of those tiny minutia details like you would on like a big, Jupiter synthesizer or something like that. All of those little nooks and crannies are buried in the menus here. So even if you're like one of those people who just only wants to design your own sounds and down with presets and everything I make is completely original, you can do that with this box as well. We can even, record our own sounds into the tone track and then play those sounds melodically. If you're a sound designer, this is an awesome box for you. And if you're not a sound designer, this is an awesome box for you. Absolutely. Yes. John's got it. Yes, 10-inch screen would be magic, or at least maybe like an output on the back so we could plug it into an external monitor. That would be amazing. Something like that. I'd love to see. In fact, it's kind of funny to think about that if you're not versed on some of the older gear, because would you believe that Roland had a synthesizer that allowed you to do exactly that? My first synthesizer was actually a sampler, and it was the Roland S50 back in 1987. Is an 8-bit mono sampler. It sounded terrible, but it was the only thing that was available to the public at that time. Oh my goodness, I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, but on the back of it, excuse me, was literally an RCA connection, and it was a video out that you could plug into like a monochrome monitor. And suddenly that tiny little display was on a huge screen, and it was amazing. I used like an Apple IIe monitor back in the day to plug into the back of that, and you could see all of the controls on the screen. And that was back in like 1987. So I don't really see any reason why they couldn't put, like an HDMI out on something like this, or, like an iPhone out, so we could plug it into the iPhone and use that as a screen or something to really, or even interact with it, maybe over USB with the iPad. I mean, a lot of potential for those kind of possibilities and stuff like this, that would be really magic. Absolutely. All right, you guys. I really appreciate everyone tuning in and hanging out, and I think we are going to call it. And until next Sunday, thanks for watching.